Yeah!
Yeah! Yeah! All right.
Woo!
Woo!
Getting the woos out of the way, getting you prepared because this card ain't at the Apex, baby. There's going to be a live audience in the Amway Center, I believe it is called, for UFC Orlando, which kicks off at the top of the hour. Welcome to the UFC Orlando edition of the People's Pre-Fight Show. As you can see, I am Mike Heck, and as you can hear, my audio sounds much better than the last couple of things we did live, and that's because Casey Leydon is back, the best producer in the game. Casey Leydon.
That's me.
How are you, man? I feel like
good.
we haven't spoken in like a month and a half.
Yeah, I don't know why. Have I been gone that long? I've only had like 2 days off, but I feel like I missed a lot, I feel.
Yes, because there was no UFC last week. We had PFL, and you were off for the PFL event. So yeah, it's been a couple weeks since we've seen you here.
So anything happened? I'm assuming Kayla dominated, now we have a 15 fight card, right? And everything's totally normal. Nothing's changed at all.
No big stories are going on.
No big stories.
There was no reaction video we had to do yesterday for some big news that came down from the UFC. I mean, you didn't miss much. It was a relatively boring couple of weeks in the world of mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have you back. So for those who have been doing, we've been doing the People's Pre-Fight Shows for so long now, you probably know what's up. If you are new to this and you're wondering what the hell is going on, this is just your time until the first punches are thrown. We're just going to answer your questions. Mostly about this card, but we've talked about this card a lot. If you have questions about other things, let's go. This is why we're here. Casey's going to dust off the old voice and knock off some rust here. It's been a minute, so submit the questions. We'll put them up on the screen. We'll address them.
Let me see.
Let's
what
go.
am I going to bring up first? Let's talk about tonight's card. Here we go.
Let me get my big-ass iced coffee here. Considering what happened last night, should the winner of Matt Schnell versus Matheus Nicolau be ready just in case something happens at UFC 283? So, interesting question. I think and I have literally no insight because no one's talking about this. It seems like Brandon Moreno feels justice will be served on behalf of his new coach, but who the hell knows at this point? So, what do you think, Casey? Do you think this could be a number one contender fight? I don't know if I'm really willing to go that far, but what do you think?
I definitely think there's something lined up as a replacement for Moreno. I don't know if it's this fight in particular, but I gotta look at the rankings. What are these What are the rankings of these gentlemen? I know Nicolau's.
I would have to say I'll pull up the UFC rankings.
I don't have it up right in front of me. I need to pull.
I'm going to say no to this question. I'll explain why in a minute. But let's see. Nicolau's number 6. Schnell's number 7. So it's not like these guys are just over the hump of the top 15. They're up inside the top 10.
I think half this question is kind of right. I think there needs to be something ready just in case because of this whole Moreno situation. I don't think it's these gentlemen, but I don't know. In case something incredible happens and someone drops one heck of a promo, but even then, I don't know because that promo will be kind of bringing attention to what's happening. So I don't know. Maybe they might bump the fight off the. Why can't they bump the fight off the card? That's the co-main event, right? What's the main event?
There is no main event. That is the main event as of right now.
Oh, it is the main event.
So the answer to this question was actually presented by our good friend and colleague, Guilherme Krause, in an article on MMAfighting.com on October 4th, 2022. Alexander Pantoja will serve as the backup fighter for Figgy Moreno 4. So it's got to be Pantoja. If Pantoja's not ready, then it could be one of these guys because Alex Perez is booked to fight. He's fighting Kaikar France on that Perth card. Brennan Royval was supposed to fight on the 17th against Amir Albazi. He's injured. He's out of that fight, so I doubt he'll be ready to turn around for the pay-per-view. So literally, process of elimination, it's Nicolau Schnell. There you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's Pantoja, and if not, it could be one of these two guys. But again, we have no idea what's going to happen. So,
this is like just the craziest thing. Like the more I kind of think about, yeah. Well, yeah, we're gonna be talking.
I'm sure
about
it's going to come up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for a long while.
Yeah. It's okay. Let's talk about this card still a bit.
Could Brian Barberina get a top 15 guy with the win? He's entering on a 3-fight win streak and facing a second legend in a row. Let me see what the welterweight rankings look like. He will not
What is?
I mean, RDA's not
RDA
in the UFC
because of inactivity.
He's ranked in the UFC rankings. He's number 7 at lightweight, but this is a welterweight fight.
Yeah,
probably not. Maybe. If he beats RDA, he's probably not going to be in my top 15, honestly. But he'll be in line for a pretty interesting fight next. That's for sure. A D-Rod type of guy.
You know what? But though, oh, absolutely. I mean, but if you beat RDA, that's a big deal. Still, I mean, like who beats RDA? Like people that honestly, names that matter. You know. So
yeah, I would be stunned if Brian Barberina wins this fight. It would be a gigantic upset in my eyes if he wins this fight. But who knows? He's chaotic, and maybe he can somehow lure RDA into a brawl. But RDA doesn't typically get himself into that type of situation. But if Barberina can somehow get him there to turn off the wily veteran switch for a little while, that's his best chance here. Otherwise, I think RDA is just going to pick him apart 15 minutes. But yeah, he could. The question is he going to get? Could he get a top 15 guy with the win? Yeah, maybe the loser of the main event.
If a win, I definitely think Barberina gets a top 15 win. He deserves it. He's been doing this a long time, and like I said, like if you beat RDA, like you matter. You know, like you're a name. So this is a super big fight for Barberina. I haven't been watching too many interviews on this fight. Why is RDA fighting at 170 again? Is this just because he wanted to fight? The opportunity came up?
So he tweeted a little while ago. He was like, I don't care. Like he felt like basically his title hopes were gone. He just wants to just have fun scraps. And he was talking about doing it at welterweight if that's where they happen. And he called out a bunch of names. He wanted like some big names, some legend names, so to speak. He wanted just kind of fun fights along the way. And apparently this one did it for him. Enter Brian Barberina. So yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe Bam Bam maybe he's just really, really good and everything's clicking on all cylinders. I'm not saying he's not a good fighter because he's a good and he's never in a really boring fight, but this is just a tough stylistic matchup for him, for sure.
Yeah. But at some point, RDA is he's got to get old at some point. And maybe tonight's the night. Oh, we have 2 Bam Bams on this card. How wonderful. I just realized that.
Yes, that's true. Very true. Jed is playing a Bam Bam parlay, by the way.
That's smart. All right. First one.
If Krause is found guilty of illegal stuff, does he get permanently banned from the UFC? Probably.
It's bigger than the UFC. He gets permanently banned from the sport, at least in terms of coaching by the cage. He can still coach in a gym and things like that, but how many fighters of name value are willing to have James Krause, represent him if he is found guilty of illegal stuff? I'm not going to speak too much of this because I just don't know very much about gambling. I really don't. This is a question for someone else, but maybe you know the answer. Is this are we entering any criminal territory, or is this strictly kind of sports commission-y stuff?
I honestly am probably, what I've learned throughout this whole thing is like, I'm learning a lot of the stuff as I go, like even a lot of like the regulatory stuff. I don't know if this is, I don't know if this is technically like federally, like a federal crime type of thing. Like if James Krause like threatened Derek Minner and said, "Hey, I need you to just take a dive tonight," and Derek takes a dive, that's different. But Derek didn't take a dive. He just didn't disclose an injury, and somebody found out about it and told a lot of people, and those people made massive bets at big amounts of money, which made the betting line swing as far as it did. So, yeah, I don't know what, I don't know how illegal that is. Like, I don't know what the penalty would be for that. I would say I would say he's done. He'd be done because he's messing with the integrity of the sport. That's a bad thing. He'd be done cornering guys. That's for sure. But who knows? I mean, again, this looks really bad. Like, this all looks really bad. Perception is that this is bad, and I'm pretty confident that this is just the beginning of all of this. But we have to also understand this probably goes beyond James Krause. There's probably a lot more to this than we even know. So this, I mean, the TJ Dillashaw thing continues to be brought up. We didn't get a ton of betting line movement there, which is why it's not really put into the same sentence as this one, but there are a ton of similarities here. Like, people obviously knew that TJ Dillashaw was fighting compromised, and he went in there basically and fought for the title with one arm. And again, we talked about this. This happened right after the UFC put out that rule that UFC fighters and coaches and teammates or whatever, most of the fighters can't bet on UFC fights anymore. And
the timing of that is very interesting. That's all.
It is a little. It is a bit interesting
because the DraftKings thing, you know, the UFC's very just getting in bed with online gambling. That's been going on. I mean, what are we, like, kind of almost year 2 into this, where they've really gone. They're not trying to hide it. They're like, between rounds, they're throwing the online bets up. You know,
DraftKings is everywhere. DraftKings is everywhere.
So we're at least a couple years into that. So it's very weird to come out. When they came out with that statement, like, why didn't that come out 2 years ago? You know, I don't know. I thought the gambling thing was kind of fun, and that's kind of Jed and, you know, Connor Burks' area. I kind of like, oh, that's a weird line. All right, cool. You know, but now doesn't seem so fun. This is all, you know, this is just very very dangerous territory for a lot of people.
What I'm hoping comes out of this is some change. Like, this is really bad. This is one of the biggest stories in the history of MMA. Like, it is shaping up in that way, for sure.
For sure, yeah.
But hopefully what this leads to is better medical process, so we don't allow a TJ Dillashaw or a Derek Minner, who clearly should not be running laps or lifting weights, let alone getting in a cage and fighting another human being for hundreds of thousands of dollars. In Dillashaw's case, not as much for Derek Minner's case. And again, this goes back to the fighter pay thing, and I don't want to turn this into a fighter pay conversation because this is far from that. But let's just say that fighter pay was better overall. Are we taking these kinds of risks? Maybe not. Maybe Derek's just like, I'll live to fight another day. But yeah. And Tim Elliott's talked to me about even that last fight with the glove grabs and all that stuff and the quote unquote cheating. Like, he hadn't fought in like a year and a half. Dude needed to win. He needed the second half of that paycheck. So he had to do what he had to do to win. So hopefully with all this leads to other change. The UFC can do the medical process better. We can look into things a little bit deeper, just deeper medicals. Like, the UFC has a ton of money to make this happen, and they're probably going to have to at this point, especially considering they're losing provinces in Canada, like big provinces in Canada. You can't bet on UFC fights. Like, we lost Alberta, we lost Ontario. Looks like the other ones are going to stick around for a little while, at least some of the ones that we've gotten in touch with. But, I mean, if it starts coming down here into the States, and some of these states I mean, we've already seen New Jersey take a stand, be like, we ain't taking any bets involving any fighters around James Krause, anybody he coaches. We're not taking bets on anybody, nobody. And even in Ontario and Alberta, you could bet on Bellator and you could bet on the other promotions. They're just not taking UFC bets right now until the UFC can prove to them that the integrity of the sport is not being compromised, at least in that organization. So the process of getting back in the good graces of these commissions and the regulatory bodies when it comes to actual gambling, it's got to be a really interesting process, see what they do. And I think yesterday was obviously a step forward because some of those commissions are aware and some of those commissions actually received that statement from the UFC that this is what we're doing. Here's how we're handling this right now. But there is an investigation going on. So we'll see what comes out of it. But for the time being, while this investigation is happening, we're doing this, this, and this. And it's just insane. And I have no idea where this is going to lead, but I have a feeling that 10 years from now, we're going to be watching a 30 for 30 or a Dark Side of the Octagon about this entire thing. And it's just going to be like, wow, we're going to show I'm going to show my freaking grandkids that documentary and be like, this is what happened in 2022. This is wild.
And it all kind of came to light on a random prelim on a random UFC Apex. Was it UFC Apex card? Yeah, it was
UFC Vegas 65. And what I'm wondering too, and I've asked this to like other people that we work with in private Slack conversations, what if the line didn't move the way that it did? What if the betting lines didn't move the way that they did and this fight just happened? We're not even talking about this right now. Like we're questioning it, like kind of like the TJ thing a little bit, but we're not having this conversation. We probably should be, but it would be a different conversation. It wouldn't be insider gambling. It'd be like, come on, UFC, the medical process needs to be better. How could you allow this guy to fight? It wouldn't even be a UFC thing. We'd be looking at the Nevada Athletic Commission and be like, come on, man. Like, how could you look at this guy and let him fight? But instead, more people knew about it and obviously told a friend who told two more friends, and here we are today. But this whole thing is just wild. And we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now if the betting lines, if someone just didn't get a little bit too greedy with the bets. Because those are big bets.
That's the thing. Someone got a little brazen and just like decided to throw everything into a random prelim. Because I was thinking about the TJ, this is all hypothetical TJ situation. If someone found out something, that's a co-main event on a major pay-per-view. There's, I don't know the number. I'm just gonna say hundreds of thousands of people betting on that fight. There's maybe 10,000, a few thousand people betting on Derek Minner fight at that moment. I don't know the numbers exactly, but I can guarantee. I will go ahead and say like times 100 more people are betting on TJ Dillashaw fight. So you have to throw so much more money into TJ Dillashaw, that fight, to really sway the lines. I wonder how much money had to be thrown in whatever gambling site to move the lines that much.
A lot,
yeah.
A lot. I mean, it moved I think it moved like 200 points in an hour.
Are we talking like 50,000, 100,000? I mean, I don't know.
It could be. Yeah.
There's
got to be a lot of zeros.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even that.
I'm really speaking out of my element here. So
it wasn't even the money. It wasn't even just the straight money line on betting on Nerd and Becca, because I mean everybody noticed the swing because it went from like Nerd and Becca was already a pretty sizable favorite. I think it was like a minus 270 or something, but it went
straight up
or 240. But then it ballooned to like over minus 400, and then bets are coming in on Nerd and Becca by knockout. Nerd and Becca wins by first round finish, under 1.5. Like all of these different things were coming in on. All right, we think this dude is going to finish this dude in a round. And that's how all the bets are coming in. It's insane. This whole thing is crazy. And, a lot of people what I found interesting about this is that like, I'm learning different things about like how to do this job with this whole thing. And two, this has been a story that we're all looking for the same thing, right? We're all looking for the truth. We want to know what the truth is. We want to know what the answer is. We want to know what the frig is going on. That's what we want to know. And we all want this. But this has become an incredibly divisive story. which is really surprising to me. Like, I didn't think it'd be this divisive.
What's the other side? What's the other side right now?
It's just.
Does it have to do with this question right here?
Do you guys think the UFC is being unfair with their decision to banning all glory moves? It's more so how, like, some people don't think this is that big of a deal, honestly, because we don't know everything. They're just like, well, this isn't like a federal crime or anything. And then some people are just like, you know what, some people look at the MMA media, they're like, well, you're doing your preview shows and you're doing your morning shows and you're answering questions and you're doing BTL, but all of your time should be focused on covering this story and trying to find your answers to this story. I'm like, what do you want us to do? Like, we're trying. Like, and I'm learning that, like, we can't all be all things. Like, I would love to be all things. There are things that I do well, and there are things that I've learned with this story in particular that I'm like, all right, maybe I'm not as good at this as I probably should be, and I need to get a little bit better. Sometimes I've been a little defensive when it comes to how people view this, and perhaps maybe just the Boston loyalty in me when I see people be like, well, the MMA media isn't even covering this. It's crickets, it's silence. And I just take that personally, like, in a way, even though, like, we all talked about it, all of us are looking for answers to this. We all want a conclusion. We all want to know what's happening. We all want the truth. The truth is hard to find in some of these stories, and this is one of them. I will say I have never had more difficulty with any story ever getting somebody to actually. Now, the last couple of days have been easier. We've been able to get some people to respond to things, and we've gotten information. The UFC obviously released their statement on stuff, so we got to hear from them a little bit. So what this tells me is that this is just going to get worse, and there's so much more to this, and I don't know. Here's a question for you, Casey, because of how this has all been handled, and I'm just, this is so hypothetical, and I don't want you guys to go crazy about this. What if the investigation comes back, Casey, and Krause is not guilty? What happens?
There'll be a lot of questions. Then why did they pull Jeff Molina off this card? Why the second part of this question? The second part, the Glory MMA. Like, why are we punishing people who aren't directly involved in this, guilty or not? James Krause being guilty or not guilty? You know, I don't. That's. I think to me that was the big one when James Krause being pulled. Okay, but the fact that they're banning the entire camp seems wild, and I've been working MMA 15 years. This is nothing. The closest thing that's ever happened to this is when the UFC released all the AKA fighters due to some I can't remember the details. I think video game rights or contract negotiations. Like this is like 12 years ago at least, where they've kind of gone after a whole camp. But this is a little different. But yeah.
Listen, their biggest sponsor right now.
Yeah, sorry.
One of their biggest sponsors. One of their biggest sponsors is DraftKings right now. If DraftKings somehow is like, red flag, we can't be in business with you right now. Like, we can't do this. That's hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, and for disclosure for MMA fighting too, DraftKings is a major sponsor for our own website on the MMA Hour. You know, so like this affects just like the sport. That's why I kind of asked this question on Twitter the other day, and I kind of asked it kind of naively on purpose. But like, I don't gamble. You know, I'm not like, I follow the lines. It's fun. I don't gamble. You know, it's kind of fun to talk about. That's what I say. But like, how does this affect a person that doesn't gamble? You know, and most people were like, well, it doesn't really affect you directly, but the money, the sponsorship money, like it's the integrity of the sport. You know, and like I still remember when you didn't talk about betting on the actual broadcast. People knew you bet, but you didn't talk about it in the broadcast. Now, and I don't watch too much like football anymore or anything like that, but like on like NFL games, do they talk about betting lines on NFL games?
Not really, but you kind of know what they are. You look at them in different ways. There are like certain programming on certain networks that are based just on betting and just on like fantasy sports and stuff like that. And that was like one point that somebody brought up to me was, at least in the NFL, we have like, if you watch enough football, or even if you watch like Sports Center or just go on Twitter, you see that in every NFL game, there's an injury report. There's guys that are doubtful, they're out, they're questionable, probable, they're going to play. Here's why, here's the injury, here's this, here's that. And part of that is, it's like the Sam Rothstein rule. Like if you ever watch the movie Casino, Joe Pesci would be the narrator and Sam Rothstein's walking in with stacks of cash and he's handing it to his mob boss buddy. And he would say like, Ace would know if like the starting quarterback knocked up his girlfriend. Like those are the kinds of insider information that he was giving. And he would pass it on to these people and they would make all that money. Not saying this is the same thing here, but the injury report, part of releasing that stuff is for purposes of gambling. Because if a team like hides that information or doesn't disclose that, and then someone turns around, like places a big fat wager on something, it almost removes the process. Like it takes a lot of that off the table, which is MMA doesn't have that. Like we don't have injury reports or things like that, which is why I think this whole thing will actually enhance the medical testing, especially pre-fight. Hopefully that's what they do moving forward, because then we avoid the TJ Dillashaw situation. We avoid the Derek Minner situation. We avoid anybody coming in just banged up, but I haven't fought in a year. I really need a paycheck here, but I just got to go in there and suck it up and fight because I need this money. Like I have to have it, or else like they shut my lights off, or I take food. Like I can't buy groceries for my kids this week. Like all of this stuff. So it's just so crazy, and I'm curious to see like because this is gonna take a long time to digest and get past. What's the sport gonna like? What is the UFC process for all this gonna look like 2 years from now? I would love to just be teleported 2 years from now and just see what we're looking at. Like, what are we talking about on the People's Pre-Fight Show before a fight night card in 2025, 2024? I mean, it's gonna be different. It's gonna be much different.
It all started with a Derek Minner fight. It's
crazy. But for those who are asking, because some people were asking about this, I know it was reported many times. We confirmed this as well. I confirmed this late last night. Marcelo Rojo will be allowed to fight tonight on the card.
So what's the situation with Rojo? I didn't even know is he a Glory fighter?
He trains at Glory. Okay. But because this statement got released yesterday, they were like, look, you're already here. You made weight, all that. Like, it's pretty unfair if we just pull you from the fight. So they're letting him fight tonight.
And I assume James Krause didn't even travel with him. Like, it wasn't like, no, okay, I'm just stunned. I'm just going to assume it.
He's suspended by Nevada. And again, I'm learning more about the regulatory stuff. But if you get dinged by Nevada, I mean, you're pretty much dinged everywhere. Could another commission be like, screw Nevada, we're just not going to follow suit with them? I guess, but it probably won't happen. So yeah, I'd be stunned if Krause is anywhere near there.
Yeah, I just double checking. I assumed. I assumed. I guess let's talk about the actual UFC Orlando card maybe a little bit.
Yeah. I figured this is going to happen, so
yeah, I try not to, but like, there's just so much to talk about.
You have to.
It's just so much. Yeah, it's so much to talk about. All right, where? I lost it. Where'd it go? All right.
Ooh, good question.
Johnson,
Elkins, or Guida. So between these three, I'm picking Michael Johnson. I'm actually like legitimately picking Michael Johnson to win. Not with like any sort of confidence, because we do our picks, and we know Jacasey has been wrestling like crazy. Michael Johnson is not a terrible defensive wrestler, but if this fight actually remains standing, if Michael Johnson can stay upright and just not spend entire rounds on his back, he's got a chance to win this fight, because that dude hits like a truck still. And I thought he won. I actually thought he won his last fight.
against
Uh,
Malarkey?
I thought he beat Jamie Malarkey.
Okay,
I thought he won that fight.
I remember it was very competitive. I do remember that.
Yeah, because he hurt Jamie a couple of times, and Jamie's a tough son of a gun. So I think of those three, I think Johnson has the best chance. I think Darren Elkins is going to get like 30-26 tonight, and I think Clay Guida is going to lose to Scotty Hot Sauce tonight.
Yeah. Crazy thing, I didn't realize. I was like, oh, Clay Guida is going to lose because he's old, and then I look at Scott Holtzman, who's only 1 year younger. I was like, whoa.
I think it's Scott's last. I think this is his retirement fight too.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
I've always liked him. I've always liked him. Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't pick any of these three gentlemen to win, but of all of them, Michael Johnson. He's still he's had one of the weirdest MMA careers. Just one because he feels like
damn.
that guy. What happened?
I'm just the UFC is not effing around tonight.
Oh,
we can take a few more questions.
all right. No.
I think Estela Nunes just made. I don't know if both women are in the octagon or not.
The broadcast has already started, huh?
Oh, so Nunes is in the cage. Yaragi is getting
Walking out.
the old Vaseline job with the face and everything. Bruce Buffer looking dapper. We could take a few more. Tevez Cortez get rebooked. I don't know.
What's the story?
I don't know.
I've been out of the loop. What happened? I've seen rumors, but I'm not going to throw them out there.
Both women made weight, and then Cortez got pulled like a half hour later for a medical issue. No one knows what the medical issue is, so I don't know. Perhaps if the medical issue isn't anything that's going to keep her out for a significant amount of time, I could see them rebooking it, but if not, they'll give Amanda somebody else.
That's a very unique one to be pulled to a medical issue that soon after the weigh-in. Usually when they rehydrate, maybe you have problems hours later, the morning of, but this is very different. And I'm really bummed because I know it's a great fight. I like Tracy Cortez, but like I'm a big Amanda Hebus fan. I think she's really underrated, and I thought that was a great fight. And I'm just kind of bummed it's off the card. So yeah. No updates.
I thought Amanda had a really good chance to win that fight too.
Oh, I mean, Amanda was kind of
if she could knock it, take it down. Yeah.
Amanda was kind of my lock. I thought that was a very Amanda, whatever. But it's not happening, so it's a bummer. And no updates on Tracy Cortez, so that's a bummer. Nope.
Casey missed practice today for this.
No, I did not miss practice because I know this sucks for you East Coasters, but for a West Coaster, having these late cards is awesome because I went to 10 a.m. Muay Thai, and then I went to 12 o'clock sparring, and I got to watch Josh Barnett sparring, start getting ready for his fight in Japan on the 28th. So that was pretty cool. I got to watch just beast Barnett in the cage just throwing people around. So I had an awesome sweaty morning, and I didn't get near Josh because he would have murdered me because he was in murder mode.
Murder mode. All right. First fight is underway. Do you have bonus predictions?
Let me pull the card up real quick. Sorry. Bonus predictions. Oh boy. I don't like saying it, but I feel performance bonus for Sergey Pavlovich. And I like Tai Tuivasa, but I think one of those gentlemen are going to get a bonus. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but and then what is that? There's so many freaking fights on this card. I have no idea.
It's crazy.
It's like I can see. Yeah, there's.
Oh! Sorry. Yasmin Yurgi just got dropped.
Oh, really?
By Estela Nunes. But she got right back up. Well, going for a take to wow. That's a knockdown. Anybody else? Any other bonuses that you think may happen? Damn.
I'm not really locked into anything. Yeah, there's nothing on this card that really it's a great card, a great fight night card. But yeah, honestly, nothing's really blowing me away. Like, oh, this is the fight to watch.
I'm gonna go Tai Tuivasa. I'm actually this might be a shocking pick right now. Mateus Nicolau. I know he's a decision machine, but if there's anybody that could bring him into a get or get got kind of scenario, it's him. And then fight of the night. I said this in the preview show, and I'm gonna say it again. This is not. You're gonna hear my pick, and you're gonna be like, "Mike, what the hell?" RDA versus Brian Barberena, and it's going to be one-way traffic for RDA, but it's gonna be one of those types of situations where RDA just puts the boots to Brian Barberena, but Brian Barberena is just so damn tough that he somehow continues on and like has a moment in the third round, and people are gonna go crazy because he shows such tremendous grit, toughness, and heart and the UFC loves giving fight of the night awards for performances like that. So it's going to be one of those types of things. Because again, this is just a hard card to kind of nail down in terms of bonuses, but I'll go Tuivasa, Nicolau, and then RDA Barberena for bonuses. And let's go main card picks. Eric Anders, Kyle Dawkins.
I'm going Dawkins KO round 3.
Damn. Dawkins KO round 3. I went with Dawkins submission round 3. How about that? All right. Jack Hermanson versus Roman Dolidze, who steps in for Derek Brunson on a little less than 2 weeks' notice. Jack Hermanson minus 205. Dolidze, who's looked real good as of late, plus 175.
Jack Hermanson, decision.
Same. This has Chris Curtis vibes to me, but who knows? I'm going with Tai Tuivasa to knock out Sergey Pavlovich like 2 minutes and 50 seconds into round 2 after maybe a tough first round. This is going to remind me a little bit of the Derek Lewis Tai Tuivasa fight, but a little different. But the result almost similar.
Well, I did think it was an early stoppage of the Derek Lewis fight. That doesn't mean I don't think Sergey Pavlovich is a mean MFer. And I am picking Sergey Pavlovich to win by second round KO.
I'm picking Mateus Nicolau to submit Matt Schnell in the second round.
Ooh.
Like early in the second. I don't know. Maybe at the first. Did I pick first or second? I picked round 2. Early round 2. Mateus Nicolau submission.
For the same reason you said that this could be a performance bonus. Actually, I didn't realize this was my pick. I picked Nicolau round 1 KO, just because of the way Matt Schnell fights.
Yeah, I love it. I'm picking RDA late TKO round 3 and what will be the fight of the night. It's going to be a mercy stoppage.
RDA in a very exciting but dominant decision.
Main event. I wonder how we're feeling about this one. Stephen Thompson versus Kevin Holland. I haven't even looked at the lines today. Kevin Holland minus 175. Stephen Thompson plus 150. Who do you got?
Kevin Holland decision. I'm gonna go youth. I'm just gonna go youth on this one. Kevin Holland, I feel, is in his athletic prime. There's so much footage on Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. You know. We know the wrestling can get him, but I think Holland is just this is his card. This is his fight to win, and it's nothing against Wonderboy. It's just Wonderboy he's Wonder Man. You know, that's about it.
It's close. I think this is lined a little wide, honestly. Like I think it's a closer fight than the betting odds indicate, and I think if Wonderboy just doesn't get colded in like the first 15 minutes, I think he could win a decision here. So I ain't confident at all. I'm just looking at it as perceived value, and it's probably on Stephen Thompson here, but who knows? It's so hard to predict a Kevin Holland fight. It's almost impossible because you never know what his game plan is. But I actually do believe Kevin Holland when he says, I'm not going to go in there and just just spam takedowns over and over again. So, all right, we are done. Round 2 of Yasmin Urigai and Estela Nunes. Nunes probably up 10-9 here. On the call, we get the great legendary John Anik, DC, Michael Bisping, and we got fans. So we're going to get wooing and 14 fights. And when it's all said and done, Jose Youngs is actually in Orlando right now. He's in the building. So we'll have post-fight interviews with the winners. We'll have a post-fight press conference after, and then we're going to come back here with all of you and do a post-fight show. So maybe we'll just let you guys ask more questions since we spent 45 minutes on James Krause today. But for Casey, I am Mike Heck. Yargi, next time I'm still Nunes. What? It's going down. She's landing big shots. Nunes is back up. Go watch this fight. It's madness, baby. It's madness. Good night, everybody. We'll see you later.
It's good to be back.
It's good to be back.